All right, President Trump speaking right outside the courthouse. We'll take it live. Let's listen.
Oil prices are going up. You have the college campuses all over closed down. Our country's going to hell. And we sit here day after day after day, which is their plan. Because they think they might be able to eke out an election, but I doubt it because the poll numbers are very good for us. I just want to say that I've invited Biden to debate. He can do it anytime he wants, including tonight. I'm ready. Here we are. I invited him to the courthouse that he has us tied up in with his administration. This is all being done through Washington. It's all a well-coordinated attack on a political opponent. But I'm here. I'm ready, willing, and able. And if he wants, I'll do it on Monday night, Tuesday night, or Wednesday night. We'll be in Michigan, a state that he's destroying because of the auto industry. We're not going to have any jobs left in Michigan. No auto jobs left in Michigan. They're all going over to China and other places with this ridiculous EV mandate, electric vehicle mandate. But we're willing to do it Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, or Friday night on national television. We're ready. Just tell me where. We'll do it at the White House. That would be very comfortable, actually. But you tell me where. But we're ready. He's obviously not showing up now. We heard nothing. But he said today that, I'd love to debate, but he won't debate. I don't think he'll debate. Maybe he will. Maybe he will. I'm not sure he has a choice. But that's the story. So here we are. We're ready, willing, and able. And we don't see him, and I don't think he'll be here. But maybe next week he'll do it. I doubt it, but maybe next week. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. I know you have to suffer through this like everybody else. Nothing has come. This is a case that should have never been brought. Every legal scholar, every legal expert, Andy McCarthy, Jonathan, Andy, every single one. Jonathan Turley came out with a scathing report on this trial today. Andy McCarthy, scathing report. Mark Levin, can't believe this is happening in our country. There's no case here. There's no case whatsoever. It's a disgrace. We have a conflicted judge, and it shouldn't be happening. Not in this country. Thank you very much.
Do you think you beat Biden in a debate?
All right, there you saw it. There you listened to it. Debates anywhere, anytime, any place. An old expression used by fighters. I suggest Monday evening, Tuesday evening, or Wednesday evening at my rally in Michigan, a state that he is in the process of destroying with his EV mandate. In the alternative, he's in New York City today, although probably doesn't know it. And so am I. I'm stuck in one of the many court cases that he instigated as election interference against a political opponent, a continuing witch hunt. All right, I'm just reading off of the Truth Social Trump MAGA circulars that we all get. Speaking of circulars, we have Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor, Fox News contributor, Alec Lace, host of First Class Fatherhood podcast, and Paul Mauro, attorney, New York Post columnist, and Fox News contributor. Welcome to all of you. Alec, he's in New York. He'd love to debate Biden. I'm going to put that aside because it ain't going to happen. But he went, this is your specialty. I always think of you. He went right away to the construction site, and he talked to the workers, in fact, the union workers, who say union folks are going to vote for him by 3-1. Joe Biden wouldn't show himself in a construction site, I dare say. I'm not saying he shouldn't, but he won't even do it. What's your take on that? Trump is making hay out of a very difficult situation.
Been working in the railroad for 24 years as a union worker. I've never seen anything like this before. They are 2020, you didn't see it the way you're seeing it right now. The union workers, you know what? They keep saying like, oh, Joe Biden does this for the unions. He does that for the unions. What good is any more money you're going to get when everything else is rising? The costs of everything are going up. The union members, now maybe the top brass are saying, oh, vote for Biden. But the rank and file union members, they're agreeing with those guys you saw yesterday. They are sick and tired of paying through the nose for every minor little thing that they want to support their family with. They are going for Trump bigly in 2024.
You know, Charlie, we talked about this just momentarily with Byron York, but poll came out yesterday. Trump's 10 points down in New York State. Ha, ha, ha. He lost the state by 23 the last time around. He's only 10 points down and rising. So I guess what I'm saying is this lawfare jihad against Trump, which I personally believe comes from the Biden White House, it ain't working. That's what I'm suggesting. It's not working.
It's definitely not working. And at some point, I think Democrats are going to wake up and start realizing that this was a terrible mistake to get him bogged down in a place like New York because exactly of the polling you're talking about. And, he does things like the construction site visit and like the visit to the bodega. He's going to do other things. I'd love to see the guy ride a subway somewhere and point out all of the crime there. I'd love to see him do something in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
There are lots of things that he can do. And of course, the most important thing about Donald Trump is that he is not an ideologue. He is a practical guy who wants to find practical solutions. And this is something that's kind of upsetting to even some conservatives in the Republican Party because they want an ideologue. But you want to solve problems? New York is a city that has to work. Whatever you say about it, whatever you say about him or your ideology, your political leanings, New Yorkers want the city to work. And it's not working right now. And a guy like Donald Trump who can, and I loved the moment where he's talking about how many floors of concrete his people were able to pour, 3 stories a day, he was bragging. What president have we ever had who even knows how any of that would begin to work? Donald Trump does. He's a practical guy, and practical solutions are what I think people are dying for right now.
Saintly wife and I once heard him give a speech for about an hour. It was a New York State Republican Party dinner in how he rebuilt what is now the Hyatt Regency in Midtown by the train station, above the train station. Wood, walls, light fixtures, roofing, the whole thing. He went through it and then concludes the speech by saying, you give me a chance, I'm going to rebuild the U.S. at the same time. All right, it was the most extraordinary speech. It was jaw-dropping. It was probably late 2015 when people didn't know him all that well. Paul Mauro, I want to ask you, look, you're a law enforcement guy, among other things. As you look at these trials and you look at the courts and then you look at the Supreme Court and so forth, I don't think it's really working. Now, I don't know the outcomes any more than anybody else does, but I don't think as a political matter, which is what I'm principally interested in, I don't think it's working at all for the Biden administration.
I think that's accurate, and I think the polls reflect it. And I think there's a simple point that you can put on this and you can point to as to why. And normally when we have a high-profile prosecution of any sort, murder or whatever, let's take Idaho, for example, right? Brian Kohlberg is the accused. What is everybody talking about? The evidence, okay? How can we prove that he did it, et cetera, et cetera? But everybody knows what the charges are. I mean, that's a given. The conversation around the Bragg case is what exactly is he being charged with?
That's my question.
And nobody really seems to know.
And I read everything. I can't figure it out.
Levin is on this, as you would expect, a constitutional scholar, and he really hits the nail on the head here. There's a real due process, aside all the other issues that are really problematic on the state level. The theory the case doesn't hold, bumping to a felony, the statute of limitations, all of that is going to go away. The Weinstein case yesterday that came down,
I know.
It's going to take a lot of, it's entirely appealable. But the constitutional larger issue here, that Donald Trump at this point, a third of the way into the trial, doesn't know what he's charged with. We don't know what this amorphous second charge actually is.
And the public doesn't know.
That's right.
And the chances are the jury doesn't know either.
Right.
They just want to say bad guy. That's it.
No, which is really a big thing. And it may well cause 1 or 2 jurors to say, I can't vote for this because I don't know what it is. It's not much of a case. Alec, let me go to you on another point. Speaking of abusing democracy, in the last week, Biden's, through executive orders and regulations, not congressional bills or legislation, he's banning non-compete clauses. The Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Communications Commission wants to take over the internet again. We stopped them from doing that in the Biden years. The EPA wants to end coal, essentially coal and any new natural gas, and they've always wanted to end oil, and that will mean at the end of gasoline-powered automobiles. These are, I would regard these as threats to democracy because this is President Biden going around the courts, which are like student loan guarantees, student loan cancellations, that's been illegal. All these EPA things were illegal on EPA versus West Virginia. He's trying to go around the courts, and he's trying to go around the Congress to foist his agenda on everybody.
Yeah, it's this climate change agenda, too, that he's trying to push. This is why Donald Trump just said, let's meet in Michigan, where you've destroyed that place. These EV cars have crippled the cars. They can't get these things off the lot. It's causing nothing but trouble. This is why everyone's leaning towards Donald Trump. And I think when we look back, Larry, we're going to find out that guys like Alvin Bragg and only Fannie Willis, I think they did more to get people to the polls than Ronna McDaniel ever did, because they're going to look back. People are seeing what is going on here, and they are going to come out in droves for President Trump in November.
Very good point. Don't say that to Ronna, but it's a pretty good point. Charlie, is George Soros financing these crazy pro-Hamas kids on all these Ivy League campuses? It was in the newspapers today and yesterday. What do you think?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
And as you know, it's not surprising.
He hates America. Hates America. Hates Israel. Hates America. He is of Jewish faith, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, when you try to, and I always try to look at things from other people's perspective, and I try to wrap my brain around what it is he's up to. And I don't know that you can come up with anything other than the fact that he hates America, or he's so because he's a hedge fund guy, he wants to so destroy the value, the wealth of so many people, and then buy into it, and then ride it back up for greedy reasons. I don't know. It's nuts.
Paul Mauro, I just think, again, I appeal to your law enforcement instincts. What's happening here, the anti-Semitism on the campuses and so forth, which is part of the greater DEI campaign. Joe Biden has that thing. He had one phrase a couple days ago, right, where he sort of said yes for Israel, but then we have to understand Palestine. But he hasn't commented directly on breaking these campuses up, on the hate crimes, on what these kids have to go through. And once again, the college presidents don't seem to have enough backbone to shut it down or make a clear statement. What do you make of this?
So this looks a lot like the Occupy Wall Street stuff, and then later on the George Floyd, quote-unquote, Summer 11, 2020 here in New York. It's the same groups. A lot of people don't realize there is a professional class of protesters, particularly in blue cities, especially in New York. And they control all of this. The money flows go through them. There's like 20 different cutouts. It's very hard to find the money. I think a point to recognize is the following. This is why you don't see a DOJ investigation. Because really what we need here is these cases pop off simultaneously around the country, which we had last week. On the same day, they're all carrying the same placards, right? Very organized, very, very orchestrated. The DOJ is not going to turn those rocks over because you're going to get into the funding areas that you're talking about. And if you start to impede those, you're starting to impede dark money that goes to Democratic candidates. The phone is going to start to ring saying, what are you doing? I'm in a close race here and wherever, and you're getting in the way of my money flow. It's going to be a commonality that they don't want to know about. So what's your recourse? And here's what's coming, mark my words. Big class action lawsuits. You're going to see groups of Jewish students banding together, suing the schools, suing the organizations. Then we might get some illumination, because the discovery there is going to be fascinating.
Alec Lace, wouldn't you? I mean, this is another place where Biden is falling down in the job. Okay, Paul makes an important point. Lawsuits are coming. I'm sure that's true. But we have a number of civil rights laws on the books, okay? They were good laws to prevent discrimination. Now, they were aimed primarily at blacks. I get that. But that includes any hate crimes, anything that's discriminatory, which this surely is. Why won't Joe Biden or his Justice Department enforce? Forget the politics for a minute. There's just blatant civil rights injustices here that should be corrected through legal channels and lawsuits and court appearances.
What's interesting, Larry, too, is it's the same people that call Trump a Nazi are agreeing with the people that are not allowing Jewish students onto the universities. My guess, here's what they should do. Get a Hamas recruiter down there to these universities with a sign. They say, hey, you want to free Palestine? Join the fight. Sign up here. And let's hear all the excuses why they can't do it. This is, obviously, who's paying for all these tents? All of a sudden, the next day, there's 400 tents on campus. The money's coming from somewhere. And if you do trace the money, we'll find out.
Paul's right. I think these are professional protesters, many of them. But, Charlie, just last word, 30 seconds. Civil rights discrimination is against the law. Yeah. Why won't Biden? This is a case where he should enforce the actual law.
Because he still wants the votes of these people that are doing all of the hating of Jews on campuses and wanting to burn Israel to the ground and celebrating Hamas's missiles. He wants those people to like him. He wants them to vote for him. But the most important thing out of all of it is, all across the country, nobody's buying into this stuff. Nobody, people are disgusted by this stuff.
Right.
And the way to register your disgust is in November.
Yep, it's coming.
Yeah.
I think retirement is coming. I think retirement is on the way.
And Paul is exactly right. I mean,
a blatant idea.
The reason they can't go after these people legally is because Democrats are relying on the exact same people for funding their campaigns.
And can we label George Soros as a domestic terrorist already, or what? What's it going to take to get that label?
Well, where are the cases? Where are the Hamas cases? Where are the DOJ Hamas cases? A designated group.
Go for it. That's all I'm saying. Civil rights laws are being violated left and right. And Joe Biden, who says he's for democracy, is not for democracy. Charlie Hurt, Alec Lace, and Paul Mauro, we appreciate very much.
Здесь каждый день это битва за место под солнцем, за славу, за благо. Но я не боюсь, я готов сражаться, ведь я знаю, что моя жизнь это не игра. Мой город, он такой разный, красивый, грязный,